Hey, everybody. Hope everyone had a good day. Came in a little early because I wanted to make sure my lighting was good. So, what we're going to do, I'm going to work on this lighting. And then in about 10 minutes, we will get started. Our guest should be here. Tonight's session, for those of you that are watching the replay, tonight's session may be a little difficult to get through for those of us who are grieving this holiday season, grieving in general. So, my commitment is to get through it, to get through the conversation, because I do believe it is going to help someone, including myself. So, I'll be right back. Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Hello, T-Shine.
Hey, ma'am.
How are you today?
I'm all right. How are you?
Good, 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 good. So I came on to fix my lighting a moment ago. I need to do something different. Hold on one moment.
Hello, Miss Anika.
Hi, how are you?
Fine. How are you? Nice to see you again.
Nice seeing you as well. Let me change this background.
Mhm.
All right.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, how are you ladies doing?
All right.
We are doing. We are doing. How are you?
Same thing, just doing.
Well, we are going to give the community a few minutes to get in. But
Okay.
Ms. Anika, thank you so much for joining us. You know, we are a wealth building community, right? We typically focus on entrepreneurship and investing and all of those things that build wealth. But what we know to be true is if we are not physically and mentally healthy, right? Then it
Mhm.
is difficult to run an empire. And so, so this conversation was critical to have because, as you know, I am dealing with my own grieving process. But
Mhm.
as I've been opening up a little bit more about it, others have been reaching out to me, sharing theirs. And what I
Awesome.
realized, what I realized was this is a rough time for people outside of just the holidays, right? I
Mhm.
think the grieving, I don't know that I ever realized how the grieving process is so different and how it lasts for so long for
Right,
so many people, right?
right.
And so I'm excited for tonight's conversation because I really think it's going to help people. Um, I don't want to say help them get through it, but what I think it's going to help them
Cool.
understand it better, like that, and cope, right? That's
Yeah.
my goal, right? Is to one of the things you did for me is you helped me realize I was not how do I say this? First of all, you helped me realize that what I was feeling wasn't this anomaly. It was okay, it was normal, right? You also gave me permission to feel whatever I was feeling at the time I was feeling it. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But you also helped me realize I wasn't crazy. Like, because
Yes, people do that to us. They do that to
yes.
us.
Yes. And I hate that I think I've done that to others.
Ah, so lesson learned and
Lesson
moving
learned.
forward, right?
Lesson learned. So
Right.
let's get started because I want to be respectful of your time.
Okay. And I'm gonna step away for a second,
Okay.
just get a drink.
Perfect. Go ahead and do that. Hi, Miss Vanessa. Shine, did you have a good day today?
No, but that's all right. Do you see her in the background though? Do you
I
see her?
do.
Yes, she is a gift. Well, she's very pretty and I love her.
She
That's the best.
is. So tell me,
That
tell
is
me
the
about her.
part of the
Is
day.
it a painting?
Yes, she is a painting. Well, she is a rendering, I should say.
Okay, okay.
And most people know of the famous girl with the pearl earring.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
She is an adaptation of that as a Black woman.
Okay.
But she has all of the remnant, but it's just beautiful. And she's just all on her spectacular. And she's very large. That's why she's taking up so much space. But
So
I haven't hung
is
her
the
yet.
plan to, I was gonna say, okay, is the plan to hang her so that we can see more of
Yes.
her?
Well,
Okay.
you won't see her, but yes, so she's going to be,
Well, I will see her. They may not see her. but
yeah,
I'll see
yeah,
her.
you're about to say, and she's again yellow and gray, her two favorite colors. So
Nice.
she inspired me to decorate that way. So I have her colors in my most sacred space in my bedroom.
Oh, I can't wait to see a close-up of her. That's nice. Very, very good.
Beautiful. Mhm.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us to our wealth building session, our weekly wealth building session. But today we're not going to talk about financial wealth, right? Today we're going to talk about mental health, which is going to allow us to be fully able to execute all of those things that we try to do in our businesses and our financial lives as we are investing and as we're taking care of the family and just existing, right? We wanted to have this conversation around grieving. As you guys know, I've been kind of sharing my journey a little bit with you. You know, over the summer, my mother got ill, made a decision not to continue the medical treatment that may have had a different outcome for her, and knowingly chose to pass on. And so that was about a 4.5 month process, very difficult process for the family. It was difficult when she made the decision, even though you kind of respected that she was, in all of her strength and weakness at the same time, she was able to make this decision for her own life. And so there was power in that. There was honor in that. Then obviously, selfishly, I didn't want my mother to make that decision that was going to eventually take her away from us. And then as she started to deteriorate, then for me, that is when the grieving process really started. And I know that's different for everyone, but for me, it started at that point. And then once she passed in mid to late October, while I believed I came to terms with the decision, it was almost as if the grief changed into something different, right? And then so it started over, but it was about something different. And this last couple of months have just been this up and down emotional roller coaster. Some days are good, some days are bad. You still got to show up and do the job. You still got to take care of the family. You still have to get up and take care of yourself, right? You still have to be there for those people who have always depended on you to be there for them. And those things have been difficult, to say the least, right? I am typically the person people come to, right? When they have a problem, when they need a solution, when they need the motivational talk, like I'm the person. And that is such an honor to be the person for people. Sometimes the person doesn't have the same person, right? And then sometimes I don't feel like being nobody's person, right? Right?
That part.
And so it's just been a lot showing up here, week after week, still trying to continue the mission of building wealth because that's important for all of us to do. That's been difficult, right? There have been some times, we come on at 6:00 on Monday. There's been sometimes it's been like 5:45 and I've been still giving myself the pep talk on if I was going to show up or not, right? And at 5:55, it's like, okay, what you gonna do, TT? What you gonna do, right? What you gonna do? The people are coming on. What you gonna do? And I pull it out of me to come. At the end of that session, though, sometimes I just go crawl in my bed and cry and just kind of exist. And so I wanted to have an open, honest conversation tonight about this grieving process. I met Anika Porter when we went to, so many great things happened. We went to this conference and you said, oh my God. Okay. So that's another thing. The conference was already scheduled, right? We had already paid to sponsor, right? And then my mother passed away and my family wanted to have the funeral sooner. And I was like, I got this conference. I already paid my money. And I was like, they were like, well, we would really like to get this over with. I was like, but I'm not trying to lose my money because it was no refund. And so eventually I got them to agree, okay, let's just push it to after the conference. So we pushed it to after the funeral and everything to after the conference, but I also feel like I pushed all of my emotions, right? So I told myself I wasn't gonna kind of feel, I wasn't gonna like, I needed to be, I needed to be 100 because I'm going to this conference. We're going to talk about 10K project. We're going to get new members. Like I had a mission. And so it was almost as if I was trying to trick myself that this didn't happen. And we were in our suite one day, and I think it was day 2, and Anika came by and she stopped in our room because, we were doing the Moscow Mules, right? We had the Uncle Waithley's, right? And we had the Positivity Water and all that. We were making these Moscow Mules. And Anika came in and she was kind of, what y'all got going on? We had the music playing. That music kind of brought her in. And she said, what y'all got going on? And we were just chit-chatting, told her about the 10K project. And I think I may have, then she said, I have to let me go because my class is getting ready to start. And I said, what's your class? And she said, my class is on grieving, the grieving process. I was like, man. So what's funny is the night before they had the sign-up sheets out for all of the sessions that were going to happen the next day. And I saw the paper for the grieving process. And when I saw it, I was like, nope, not ready for that. And I actually physically said, nope, not ready for that out loud and pushed it to the side. And so, and I think I signed up for like the gun class or something, And so when she said, I'm teaching a class on grieving, I was like, see, God, you ain't fair. Like I was trying to avoid this. And so I said to her, my mother just passed, blah, blah, blah. And she said, you should come to the class. And for a split second, I was like, I wasn't ready. And then something said, you don't believe in coincidences, because I don't, right? I believe everything happens for a purpose. And so that voice in my head said, you don't believe in coincidences. Take your little happy behind to this class, right? And so we walked to the session.
Together.
That part, right? I didn't walk alone.
No.
The walk, and it was a long walk to the other side of the building even, right? And I had a whole lot of time to turn around and run and change my mind. And trust me, the whole walk, I thought about it. But Anika was by my side the whole time. We walked and other people were in the class, and that session absolutely changed the way I feel and felt about the grieving process. It helped me understand that I was not crazy. It helped me understand I did not have to suppress everything I was feeling, even though I was feeling a million conflicting things. Each and every one of those conflicting things were okay to feel. Yes. And she told me that, right? So I wanted to invite her here to talk to all of us, because I know there are so many of us that are grieving this time of year. Some of the wounds are fresh. Some of them are decades old, right? I've talked to a couple of people that it's been 20 years since they lost a loved one, 10 years since they lost a loved one, and their process is still in process, right? And so I wanted to bring Anika, talk about her background, what she does. I want to share some of these amazing books she has here. So let's just get this conversation started. Miss Anika, please tell us about you. Tell us about your experience. And first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to come and blessing this community the way you've blessed me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. So I'm Anika Porter. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm from Louisiana. So throughout my conversation, you'll hear that Southern drawl. I can't get rid of it. But what got me here? I am a certified grief recovery specialist, but I too am a serial entrepreneur. Believe in working. I'm a consultant coach, and going through my process with loss and losing all what I have lost in these past few years. That's not what pushed me to becoming a grief recovery specialist. I wrote the book, Papa Goes to Heaven. And I was writing that book because it was one of my very best friends' son whose life was taken away from a distracted driver. So I wrote the book as comfort. God put it in my spirit. God showed me, gave me the words. And true enough, when she read the book, the things that I wrote in the book was things that was bothering her spirit, she was dealing with, because my friend is a doctor. And as a doctor, you couldn't save your son, right? What could I have done differently? And all of those thoughts. But I wrote the book, shared the book, but even on my job, my life has been more of a ministry. I get people that come to me with these issues and I'm having to talk them through it. And my friend told me, as she was healing and going through her recovery, she was like, "Friend, I really think you should try this grief recovery method." And I was like, "Okay." She said, "No, I think you need to be a specialist. Why not get paid for what you already do?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know about that." Just fair. Like I didn't see myself as that person. And when I went through the recovery process, now here's my story. My father died the year I was getting married. My dad died in May. I got married in September. I wanted to move the wedding up. He refused. Years later, 14 years later, I'm a public speaker. I went to a conference. I spoke in Arizona, had a wonderful time. My mom insisted on having this hysterectomy. And she had the hysterectomy the Tuesday. I left for Arizona. I left Louisiana, came back to Houston, left for Arizona the Thursday. That was the last conversation and last time I saw my mother speaking to me. But she encouraged me as I left for the conference that, you're going to do well. This was my first time on a stage of people in my profession, but it was my first time on a stage with people who were not my equals, who were not my peers. It was people who were above me in the healthcare setting. And I had to teach them some things and tell them how they weren't as they thought they were, right? And my mom cheered me on. Get back into town Monday morning at 7:00. My brother and sister-in-law is calling me, telling me they're taking her to the hospital. 4-hour drive, get to the hospital. She's unconscious and intubated. Tried to perform surgery. No. They closed her right back up. Hours later, my mom was dead. Moved on to that. And I was grateful because I was a daddy's girl. So when my mom and I didn't have that relationship my dad and I had, but over the years, it developed and it blossomed. So I had a phenomenal relationship with my mom until she passed. 5 years later, and I'm sharing this because I want you to understand that my losses were always attached to something extraordinary for me, right? So my wedding, this public speaking, I'm known in the healthcare setting now, and here's another loss. Then 5 years ago, we planned a great exodus, leaving. I was in the forefront of leaving a medical practice, starting a new practice, working with a group of 3 doctors who was leaving a large group. And so the day we made the announcement, I get a call that my brother's not breathing. And so I'm walking and listening through my sister-in-law's sister, who's a nurse, perform chest compressions. I'm listening to the ambulance on the phone in Houston while my family's in Louisiana, trying to revive. I'm having to tell my sister, who's 20 years older than me, you need to get there because he's gone. They don't know if he's going to make it. So again, this was supposed to be a great day for me. I remember sharing my playlist. I was jamming on the way to work because this was a great day, right? And minutes later from that call, I'm having to call my husband. I'm in the parking lot, can't get out the car. My brother is now dead. And I didn't mention, but we were 4 kids. My two brothers, my sister, and myself. I'm the baby. My sister is 20 years older than me. My oldest brother was 18 years older than me. My youngest brother was 17 years older than me. So that was my oldest brother that passed. I'm the baby, but I'm a boss babe. Just know that I boss all of them. And it's fine. It's great. It's who I was allowed to be. But as time passed on, we circled through and got through all of that. And when I did the grief recovery method, I was like, I'm good. I've dealt with all of this. I did it last year, a year before. I did, and when I went through the process, I was like, this is going to be a breeze. No, it took me out. There were moments where I realized I didn't deal with some things. What I did was I pushed it off because I didn't want to think about it because of how it made me feel at the moment. But as time moved on, I decided to give it my all and push myself into this moment, right, of learning and healing so that I could help others heal. I wanted to be empowering. I just wanted to help others to heal. So I go through this. One day I remember having to do one of the projects, and this is not a scare tactic. This is just a part of my healing, right? And I remember having to write this stuff down and share it with a partner. And when I was done, I said, oh, I need to sleep. I just need to lay down. I'm grieving all over again. But once I was done, I felt free. I felt like all the stuff that was on my shoulder was lifted. I felt so free. Well, moving on. And I did a couple of grief recoveries with people, but, I was like, I'm not good at pushing this. I don't want to push this. People don't want to talk about it. And at first I said, well, are you not sold on it? Why aren't you speaking to people about it? But what I realized was I had to be all in, and meaning that when I shared it with others and I did the program with other people, my all in was totally present, totally listening and available. And so I started doing more and more. Well, January of this year, I get a call in the middle of the night. My sister-in-law passed. She had a heart attack. My brother, who had become, since the loss of my mom and dad, had just become a serial alcoholic. This woman he's been with for 30 plus years. They had one son together. She had a son who's actually my age. So, she's all I'd known in the family. And so we battled with my brother. I'm the person to bring the family together. So we brought everybody together before the funeral, her family, our family, just because this is a time where people really split up. They don't come together. They really, really split up. And so we came back together and we brought the families together and we just loved. And my brother and I was having these conversations. We were talking and we were having conversations. And then here goes another milestone. Super Bowl Sunday. We're sitting in my living room and my nephew calls me and he says, my dad's not breathing. Yet again, I'm on FaceTime with a paramedic trying to breathe life into my brother. So I sat there and I was like, my husband, this was his first time ever in all the years that we've been together. We've been married 23 years, 10 years dating before. That's another conversation, but I'm just saying, all these years together, he'd never seen me in this state. But one thing I learned through my grief recovery process was that I didn't have to put on for anybody else, and I had to be me. And so I just let it out. I just let it out. I just let loose, and he didn't know what to do. I remember looking at him at some point, he was just like, because what? He didn't know what to do with me. I always had it together. Even in my weakest moments, I was able to direct, to transform, to maintain. I was able to do it. But at that moment, I didn't have it. So again, I keep saying my losses were attached to something significant or something that I always remember, right? I had people in the house watching, we're getting ready to watch the Super Bowl. Imagine, and I remember standing at my brother's service and sharing to the church, and I said, he wouldn't have his death no other way to ruin a good party. He would ruin a good party. And then, you know, that's who he was. That's what he did. And that's my story. And as I share and be truthful to who I am, even as a recovery specialist, I have my moments. I have my moments. But what do I do in those moments is what I want to help all of you with. Because when grief consumes us, first of all, we don't acknowledge it. How many of you, and you know, I'm very, when I speak, I bring people in. I like to engage the audience. So if you don't mind, indulge me. And even if you have to raise your hand on camera or use the chat, how many of you?
And we can bring you in for voice or for bring you on the panel if you want to.
Okay. No, so what I want people to do is like raise their hand or put it in the chat. How many of you recognize that you're overwhelmed with grief in a given situation? Grief has come over you. You're having a happy day and a memory comes and boom. It's taking me down. It's overwhelming me. It's consuming me. We've all been through that, right? And what I've learned is that nobody wants to go to a grief class. Who's signing up excited about taking a grief class? No. Nobody is doing it because nobody really wants to admit that they're grieving. Nobody wants to admit that they're going through something. Nobody. And that's the honest truth about what it is. And I share my story because what I believe is my testimony can help somebody else on their world. And so one thing is there's no right or wrong way to grieve. No right or wrong way to grieve. Through your process of a loss. And then I want you to understand this. It's not just death that's a loss that you're grieving. We grieve relationships,
Yes,
breakups, divorce, money. Oh my God, being broke, getting, and I say this to say being broke, you might not be broke, but in your mind, you're not financially where you want to be, and you start to grieve. You end up losing, you lose a friendship. You lose a friendship and you thinking it's your fault, or it may not be your fault. Your kids leaving the house, getting married, going off to college, a pet dying, all of those things, a miscarriage. Some people really underestimate what loss is. Before all of this, I had 2 miscarriages. I didn't even plan on being pregnant, didn't want any more kids, but I miscarried. And yes, and it's part of the struggle that we have because people don't know how to deal with us or with someone when they're grieving. So it does a couple of things to us. It makes us feel, A, I need to keep it to myself. B, I don't want to talk to that person anymore. Or C, just don't show it, right? That's not what we're supposed to do. That's not what we're supposed to do. And somebody is saying, people guilt trip you for grieving. Oh, yes. How many of you heard God won't give you no more than you could bear? I had a minister tell me that's not true. God's going to give you more and more because he knows what you can bear, but he's going to give you more and more. And so, or people tell you, just trying to be confident because they don't know better. To be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. I want to hear that. I want to hear that. And the flesh really wants to say, shut up. I don't want to hear that. That's not what I want to hear at this time. People come back and they tell you these different things and they show up. They're trying to be helpful, and let's just call it what it is. It's ignorance, because they really don't know. They're trying to be helpful. They're trying to be their best self. But when you're in this situation and you're the griever, you know what you don't want to hear. And it's been a lesson because now you don't tell people the same things they told you.
yes, that part for sure.
And yes, that has been the one thing that I really embrace is that I've learned what not to say. Now I say things like, hey, I'm here. How can I help? You don't know what you need right now, but just know that anything you text to me, if I can't do it, I'll figure it out. I think that would be reassuring, right? That would be comforting, but I'm not saying words that will impact them or shut them out or make them more upset than they already are. One of the things, so I just gave you just a tidbit as somebody responding to a griever. Now let's talk about us, right? Let's talk about us. How many of you are dreading the holiday because there's so many memories involved? Raise your hand, put it in the chat, say me, whatever. There's so much involved with the holiday coming that you dread that moment. You
Yes.
dread thinking about it. And then you think about, oh God, I have kids. My kids are looking forward to Christmas, but I'm not. My husband's looking forward to this, but I'm not. My friends are looking forward to a party, a gathering, but I'm not. That happens. That's who we are. The first thing I want you to do in everything that you do concerning your mental health, your well-being, and your grieving process is to allow yourself to be. That's the first thing. Allow yourself to be.
Mm.
And Ms. Harrison, what I want to tell you is it's okay that you're stuck. Society has made it taboo to say that we're weak, to say that we're stuck, and especially in our culture, African Americans, it's hard for us to say we're weak. It's hard because we've been told that we have to be strong. I'm here to clear that up. It's okay. It's okay to be stuck, to be weak, to be broken, to have all of these emotions. It's okay because it's what you do with it that can set you up for your own success. In your stuckness, think about this. I want you to stop. I want you to breathe. And if nobody's around for you to talk about it, that's okay. Write down all of the emotions that's surrounding you being stuck. And I'll do it with you right now. So the thing that this week that made me be stuck is that my daughter called me. She went to visit Louisiana and she called me and she said, I'm having a bad day, Mom. She went to my brother's house and it broke her. She got back to the house, which was my parents' house that I now own. She went to sit in there and study, and the neighbor came over and talked about how much he missed my mom because my mom took care of them in the neighborhood. And so she was like, Mr. Kevin just wanted to talk about grandma, and she was just crying, and I'm talking her off the ledge, but in that moment, I was like, okay, I'm here. I'm here. And I started to talk to myself and I said, what brought me here? Was it that my daughter's grieving and she's broken? Or is it that I am broken, that she's driving up there and they're not there? What is it that's hurting me at this moment? What is bothering me at this moment? Because every day of grief won't look the same. So when you're challenged by something, what is it that's challenging you at that moment? Well, and if you feel like sharing, especially Shawnette, if you feel like sharing, what has you stuck in this moment?
Yeah, Shanette, and in full transparency, Shanette is my sister. Shanette, do you want to come on just for voice or if you want to come on picture as well? Put a yes in the chat if you want me to unmute you. Okay. Just yes. It's interesting that you say every day is going to look different because in the beginning of this, I'm a problem solver, right? It's what I do. And I kept, when I solved, so I solved Wednesday, right? And then Thursday, I expected to be better. But then Thursday, I dealt with something completely different. And then I was like, well, I didn't solve anything. And
Right,
so
right.
then I was mad at myself because I couldn't get a hold. Like, it's just been so much. It's been so much.
And you're putting it all on you.
Oh, yeah.
And because you're a problem solver, you're also a controller.
Mm.
And you can control these things right now. So Shawnette, you're here.
Hi.
Hi. What's making you feel stuck?
Sadness.
Sadness. And sadness at this time, or the complete loss?
The complete loss.
Exactly. Okay. So Shawnette, I want you to do this. Be patient with yourself. Don't feel guilty about being sad. Be very, very patient with yourself. You embrace you as the newborn baby, because now you're in a new space. You've never felt that before. You've not been in this situation before. So it feels real different. You don't like it, your body don't like it, and definitely your heart doesn't like it. So at this moment, you embrace who you are and where you are. It's okay. In the grief workbook that I shared when I met your sister, we did emotions. And there's a page on how am I feeling right now, just with the emojis that we use every day. Do a mental check every day. How am I feeling? Because that's the part of you that you need to work on at that moment. Yes, here
Okay.
we go. So how you're sad right now, but you're sad and write down what you're sad about. I don't want to speak your truth. You know what's happening and you know how you feel. For me, when I was sad at that moment, it was because I won't see my mom again. I can't have these conversations again. And I feel that the people around me don't understand, because the people around me, I'm their mom. My husband, his mom is still alive. So now I'm feeling like I'm on an island. My sister and I are miles apart. And I don't want to talk to her about my sadness, because I don't want to hurt her feelings or make her feel bad and bring her on this sad journey with me. But guess what I found out?
What?
Sister enjoyed the conversations of my sadness. And when I was able to start talking about why I was sad and what made me sad, and she shared her sadness, our conversation ended in laughter.
Mm.
You guys don't have to be anything but yourselves to each other. You both experienced the loss and experienced it in a totally different way. If you think about it this way, if you fail and you hurt yourself, it would take time for the injury to heal, right?
Mhm.
Right.
Loss is an injury to your body, to your heart, to your mind. You got to allow yourself time to heal and recover from it, because we recover from injury. You'll always remember that wound. You probably have a scar to show, but you can recover from that injury.
It's interesting because as I stated, Jeanette is my sister, the only sister I have, right? Would not trade her for the world. But right now we're fractured, right? Because we are grieving independently. It pains me to see her hurt in her grieving process, where normally if this was about something else, I'd be by her side, I'd try to get her through it. But I can't for this because I've got my own stuff, right? And I'm trying to get through my own stuff. And so that has caused even some guilt within me that I can't be there for her, that I have to be selfish with this grieving process, because otherwise I am afraid that I am going to suppress it and it's going to creep back up 5 years and take me out. So I know I've got to go through it now, but in order to do that, I have to be selfish in this moment. And that hasn't been something easy for me to
So let's focus
come
on
to
this.
terms with.
Let's focus on this. Because it sounds, because you're thinking it sounds bad to say that you're being selfish, right? No. What you're doing is you're healing and you're focusing on healing. Because if you're not healed, you're not good to anybody else. When you're grieving and you're broken and you're trying to solve all the problems of everybody else and you're not where you need to be, you're not solving anything. It may even create more conflict than anything else. So no, you're not can you mute her mic?
Yeah, Shanette, you got some background noise that's coming out.
Okay.
Okay. So it's not selfish. So forgive yourself and let that part of your thought process go. It's not selfish, because remember, if you think about what you're going through as healing a wound, the doctor put you on bed rest, you can't help anybody, right?
Okay.
If you limping and everybody's going to hike the mountains, you can't lead the group. So to yourself, be patient, heal, and take this moment. I don't believe your sister doesn't think that you're not there for her. And yeah, she probably does miss you in that light, because you've always been. But now you have to allow somebody to be for you what you've been for others. And that's, our personalities don't allow that.
Yeah.
Our personalities don't allow that. They don't give love like I give love or like I need it. They want to give me their love language and not mine. I'm sorry, I'm preaching to myself for a second.
All of that.
Yes. So truly, it's not selfish. Be
No,
patient.
I don't think it's selfish. I wish I could be selfish.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
I think, again, taking care of oneself is never selfish. I think we've conflated that word with something else. You are supposed to take care of yourself. That's the whole point. You
But-
are mandated to take care of yourself so that you can be of servitude to others.
But you know what? Our culture, our churches have truly tripped us up. And I say this every time I have the opportunity to say that. We've been washed with, it's not okay to take care of yourself as a Black woman. We've been washed. It's not okay for you to break down and cry and feel sorry for yourself as a Black man, or grieve as a Black man. We've been washed in that. And society has us so messed up. And let me just say this, because I'm a renegade in my own light, but the church especially has us messed up with some of these ideologies, because it's truly not scriptural. It's not professionally acceptable. It's not medically correct. None of this has any truth to it.
Mm.
But it's what we've learned from generations to generations, and we have to unfix it. Just like you guys are unfixing and changing by this group, changing and breaking generational curses and bringing forth generational wealth. Just like you guys are doing that, you have to apply that to your mental well-being. And because grief can take you down, unresolved grief can truly take you down. I don't remember what my post was, but I posted something like that on one of my stories or my Instagram. Unresolved grief can truly kill you from the inside out. And when your grief is unresolved and you're working on your business, and you can't handle it, you're emotional, you give it up and you push it to the side. I did that this past week, and it was grief, it was pain. I took a really bad fall, so I'm hurting. I have all this going on. My husband's not showing up with my love language. He's giving me his. He's fixing me this big plate of meat and eggs and all of this other stuff for breakfast, and I can't eat none of it. But he's showing up, but not the way I wanted him to show up. And so my business was about to hit a slump because I wasn't going to be able to show up because I was grieving my independence.
Mhm.
Because I was trained, I was able to recognize that, wait a minute. It's
Mhm.
the holidays, your daughter called you with this, you have this, but now you're grieving because you have to depend on somebody else. You lost your independence for some days. What are you going to do about it?
Mm.
Talk about deep.
Ooh, there have been moments where I didn't realize until you just gave it a title that that's what's been happening.
Yes, yes, yes.
The fact that I need people is a problem. Like that's a problem within itself, right? The fact that I wake up days and it's like, I need somebody to motivate me. That has never been a part of my existence.
Right.
And now I do. And that's, I'm like, well, what's that about? Because people tend to let you down, right? So it's you need them, but then when they don't show up like you need them to show up, then that's a whole nother layer of disappointment.
Exactly.
This is, I mean, and I feel like the grieving process is, like, I know it started with my mom, but then we lost my stepdad about 8-9 years ago. And so now I'm thinking about him more too. Cause now I'm like, wow, like you legit don't have any parents, right? Like that's the other thing that has hit me, like sideswiped me. I didn't think that was going to make me, I'm 54 years old. Like, like being an orphan is not a thing at 54, but it is. Because now I'm like, I don't have parents. And that has messed me up. It's just so many layers to this. And it's like I said, when you think you've tackled one part of it, something else creeps in as another thing to have to tackle. And for someone like me that is a problem solver, right? And that finds comfort in solving problems, this has been like a never-ending puzzle. Like Sudoku don't have nothing on this. Like
right. But
is a
the
big
great
puzzle.
part about it is you don't have to solve it. Tell yourself, I don't have to solve it. That's hard for you.
That's hard for me.
Yeah. Tell yourself, everybody needs to tell themselves, I don't have to solve it. It's okay. Most entrepreneurs are basically the type A personalities, right? They're the get it done, always on task, especially the serial ones. Those are the people who feel like I have to have a solution. There's a problem, I need a resolution. That's who we are, right? There's a problem, I need a resolution. There's nothing in between. There's me solving the problem, right? That's not how grief works, sis.
Don't I know it?
No. There's a problem and there's never a resolution. I just want you to know there's never a resolution to grief. There's only a process to recover and to live and to deal with the loss.
Wow.
People tell it gets better. That's a lie.
Right.
It doesn't get better. What it does is it gets more tolerable. That's what I like to say. That's not, I wasn't trained to say it that way. That's just my personal opinion.
Mhm.
It never gets better. It just gets more tolerable. It gets easier for me to talk about memories later on. It gets easier for me to take those memories and implement them somewhere in my life. And me being able to tolerate the loss and to recover from the loss is me incorporating things, sayings, stories, recipes, acts of kindness, just different things. One of the things that my mom did was, my mom was a phenomenal cook, and the neighborhood knew it, the community knew it, everybody called on my mom. My dad was he was a master mechanic. Everybody called on him. And more so, both of them didn't charge for their work. And so what I decided was, because there's never a time where my mom didn't cook and have people over.
Mm.
I came to town, people was coming over. My mom was embracing that. So I go down there as part of her legacy and cook and invite the family, invite friends over. And they get to be in her house and her space. And sometimes I get a little down because people start to share with me stories of my mom. And if your mom was the person to you that you keep talking about, people are going to come tell you things about your mom that you had no idea. And it's going to make you be like, but then, wait, that was my mom.
Mhm.
That was my mom, right? Your mom, my mom left a legacy. I didn't realize it at the time. Money couldn't buy what she left behind. The fact that you and your sister know how to come together for all these other things. And now at this moment, you both are so concerned about how each other is feeling and trying to take care of yourself in the process is something about the way she brought you guys up. See, so those are the things that you have to rise up and lift up and shine some light on.
Mhm. Mhm.
You have to become creative. I want to point this out. This is something that you learn if you did grief recovery with me. There's something called STIRBs. They're short-term energy relieving behaviors. What's a STIRB? Short-term energy relieving behaviors. Shopping. That's my STIRB. People drink, they drugs, sex, they overwork, they search social media, they do all these different things to relieve the grief, but it's short term. When I shop online, in store, I have these tangibles, but the grief is still there.
Mhm.
So I want you to identify what your STIRB is and ask yourself, how much power are you giving that STIRB? And is it really helping you? How much, if you're pouring it into your job or your business, how much power are you giving it? Because you could be pouring so much into it that you have no balance and you're neglecting your family. You're neglecting your kids. Those things could really, they may be positive in one way, but it can really be negative. So I want you to look at the whole of whatever it is that you're doing, that you're thinking that you're coping. Utilize those things to make you more aware of what you're doing in your process. Because
Oh, that's good.
look, 20K credit card debt.
Yeah, that's not a good look, right?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's not a good look.
That's a whole nother
That's
level
a whole
of
other
grief.
problem, right?
I
Another
was about to say,
right,
that's grief
right,
on another
right,
level.
Right. But it does happen, and it happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
So figure out what it is. And then so the last thing I want to tell you is become creative. Become creative. Since you're in a space that you've not likely been in, it's a new place for you. Become creative. Find something else to help you while you're spending time with yourself, to help you deal, to help you cope, to help you recover. Some people might be journaling. Some people might be affirmations. Some people might be making something, creating new things, making wreaths. Become creative with yourself in this space. You might just want to sit down and make you a whole deck of graphics for you to push out in your business. But can't look like what it's been looking like because you're in a different place. So you need to see and feel something different. So that's why I say really become creative. and find something else to help you recover in this process. So that's my spiel.
Well, I love that. I want to get to Kiara's question because it's a really good question. She says, how do you recommend dealing with a situation where your mom is dying but wants to be tough and not talk to anyone or go to the hospital?
Okay, I have two hats now. I'm a healthcare professional and I'm a grief recovery counselor. Okay, so let me give you an example of something that I have to deal with. I deal with patients, I work in nephrology, so I deal with patients who have to start dialysis and do not want to start dialysis, but do not have the conversation with their families about their start on dialysis. So I have to put on a social worker cap. I'm not a social worker, but I have to put on that cap. And here's the conversation that I would have with them. And I would say, okay, you don't want it? You don't want treatment? You don't want to even work on healing? You don't want this, right? Right. Well, I need you to tell your family this, because here, let me play out the ending for you. Let me play out the ending. You're going to go to the hospital. Your family doesn't know that you don't want it. And if you, God forbid, you pass out and you're unconscious, they're going to make a decision for you that you don't want. Your family doesn't want to do something for you that you don't want to be done. Nobody wants to see somebody leave, especially if they could avoid it. But you have to voice it and you have to do what it takes. So that's the kind of conversations I have. So for you as the child of the parent who does not want the help, does not want the healing, your words are now, first of all, I'm prayerfully, you have to talk to God to give you the strength to endure that. That's my faith talking, right? God, you got to help me through this because I don't want my will and my wants to get in the way of you and her, or you and him. But then the conversation becomes more of remove yourself. My advice is to remove yourself from the situation and focus on her as or him as the patient. Hey, so what would you like to do? Because they might just be being tough because they know what you want and what they want aren't the same.
Right. Yeah,
So-
that's what I was thinking also, is that, you know, that tough thing is, does your mom need you to say, you don't need her to be tough for, is she being tough to protect you at the end of this, right? And so I think you have to try to have a conversation about what tough really means, and that she gets to be vulnerable and she doesn't have to be tough anymore because you gotta, like, I you know, like that needs to be part of the conversation as well.
Right. And you know, if you can just say, hey, mom, we don't have to talk about nothing. Just know I'm here. I'm here. Because whether she does it your way or not, you're not gonna not be there. So, hey, mom, I'm here. What do you want from me today? What do you need today? You know, and enjoy those moments, embrace those moments.
Yeah, the one thing we dealt with my mom towards those last few months is she was struggling with her loss of independence.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a big deal. So like, you know, like even when like the home care people were there or hospice people were there, and they were asking about how she was doing, she wanted to speak for herself, right? When somebody would chime in or butt in, she'd give you that look like they weren't talking to you, talking about me. This is my business, right? And so and my mother was, she was not the little old grandmother that you sit on her lap and she tells you bedtime stories. She was cutthroat, straight, no chaser, right? And so she'd be like, they talking to me, like what you know, like she was very adamant. And in the moment, your feelings could have been hurt. But when you walk away, you realize she is fighting for every bit of independence. She knows that that the time frame she has to speak for herself is short. It's not going to be long that she's going to be able to do that. And she fought for that voice to that last day. And I think that's the other thing is we have to remember is our parents, they're gonna try to parent, right, for as long as they possibly can, because that's what they do. But they're also people who desire to be able to make decisions for themselves. And when they get to those states where they're not able to do that, then they're struggling with that, right? My mother got to the point where she couldn't really feed herself. She could, I mean, and it spiraled in months, like it deteriorated quickly.
Quickly.
And so the less she was able to do for herself, I think the more combative she became, right? And I associate those two. And I wish we would have been able to have dialogue about that before it happened, right? To be able to say, you know, as this goes further, there are going to be times where we are going to have to speak for you. Know that we have your best interests in mind. Tell me now what you would like. That's what you said. What would you like? Tell me now what decisions are okay for me to make on your behalf versus which ones are absolutely a no-go, right? Those things are really, really, I think, important. Looks like Kiara said, I feel like for a lot of us Black women, it can be so hard for our moms to give up their independence, their pride, and their new situation in life. It can put you in a place where you have to disrespect them to get them to accept medical care. Oh my God, yes, Kiara. Yes. I mean, I know my sister can attest to that. My mother would have told you that we were the most disrespectful towards the end, when all we were trying to do is make sure she was getting the best care, right? And she was being handled with care, and that she wasn't making decisions that was going to be counterproductive to that.
Right.
Yeah.
But in that, even to was it Kiara who asked the question about her mom? With that, you have to say, talk to yourself. Am I doing my best?
Yeah. Because
once you realize that you're doing your best, you don't have to fight. You don't have to struggle. I'm doing my best. Am I doing my best? Okay, the answer is yes. Okay. My best is not what she wants in this moment, right? Because my best is only for me. She's wanting to be independent. She's wanting to be strong. She's wanting to be courageous. You know, if you start looking up, I don't think there's much writing on how to deal with the dying process of somebody who just doesn't want the help, right? Or who's accepted their fate, right? I don't want any more cancer treatments. I don't want to go to dialysis, these types of things. But there's a lot on dealing with people with dementia. And I believe those roads are parallel.
There's also death doulas that I found very helpful. I met a woman when I was traveling, and she's a Black woman, and that's her specialty. She's called a death doula. She helps people who are terminally ill, or in those situations are, you know, got some very bad news and are progressing through their process a little more quickly than they assumed. She steps in and gives them the language. So it's another person besides you, because again, it is that parental child relationship. She's just a person. She's just helping the person, and she's their advocate. She kind of makes sure she engenders herself that way to allow her voice to be the voice, and she can interject when, like, okay, you need this, because like Ms. Vivian said, there are some things they know and they want, or they're fearful, but then there's that reasonable voice where it doesn't have a lot of other things attached to it, emotion and parenting and all the disrespect. She's a neutral voice that just says, this is what is going to happen. This is how we want it. And she becomes a we with the person. So I think those are very interesting. And that's, I'll have to look at that woman's information, but she's a strong person with regard to her profession. And I never heard of that ever before.
Yeah, that's why I never heard of that.
I was like, what do you mean a death doula?
A friend of mine, she's a graphic designer and does websites. And she called me one day and she was like, girl, I got this crazy request. This lady's a death doula. I was like, wait, what? And so I started looking it up, and it's real, and it's a movement.
That's wonderful.
Tips for energy and movement.
I
think you gotta kind of be like Nike.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Do it. But here's our problem. Let's bring this grief back, like to it's coming the first of the year. We all want to lose weight, right? We set ourselves up with all of these goals that are so far-fetched from where we are. Why are you going on a 5-mile walk and you know you don't really do good walking to the corner? Let's be real with ourselves, right? So when I say just do it, I'm just saying get up. Shanette, if it means that you're getting out of the bed and you go walk out the house to the end of the driveway, breathe in some air, breathe out some air, and walk back in.
Well, that's good because she got a long driveway, so that's really good for her.
Yeah, but the thing is, that's simple and attainable, and that's something we take for granted, right? We take that little walk and that little time, because in your mind, you only say, I'm gonna make it to the end of the driveway. And I can promise you, may not be on the first day, but by the time day number 5 comes, that walk becomes longer, or that time becomes longer. Sit and cry. Why do we muzzle our tears? Why do we think we have to cry silently? Go outside, sit in the sun. Well, it's not very sunny in some of your places right now, but sit and let them flow. Let them flow. Talk to yourself about why you're crying. What's bothering you? What's hurting you? What's stopping you from healing? And it's probably suppression. That's the one thing that normally stops us from healing, is suppression. Oh Lord, my husband coming. I don't want him to see me crying. My daughter's coming. I don't want her to see me broken. Wait, no. You let her see you broken. Let them see, because they need to understand how to deal, how to cope, how to grow. So please take baby steps. Exactly. Take that walk to the driveway. And if you're married, if you have a partner, if you have a friend that's very intrusive and wants to be in your space, just say, okay, you could be here. Can you just be quiet? Listen, I
felt that one in my core. Because making me feel better does not mean talking to me. Like, I don't want to talk.
I know this. I obey the silence. I already know the routine.
My husband, he wants to be, no matter what I'm like, he'll come and he wants to be in my space. And then he starts whistling. Well, I don't like it. And
but
so
this is one of those things, though. I always say, like, I have learned this. The reason that people talk to you or whatever, it's frightening when you're in that vulnerable state for them.
Exactly.
Like when I would see my mother, who was very stoic my entire life, break down, I get really unnerved. That is uncomfortable. So I want to speak to her. Like, are you all right? Do I need to call somebody? I'm like the rattling off of them because I'm uncomfortable. I'm not even thinking of why she's crying. I just know how it makes me feel. So then I had to stop and be like, you know what? She's having a moment. My job is to witness her moment and not fix her. She's not broken. She just needs a space. So that took me years and years to come to that. But that's what happens, is that people react rather than respond. And I think that's where we need to respond to the person's grief or what they're doing, that emotion, and just say, okay, you're having a moment. I'm going to just let you have your moment. I'm not going to ask you 15 million questions in this time.
Like, I had someone to break down with me, and she was experiencing a lot of grief. Her vehicle broke. She didn't have much money. And she said, she started crying, and then she was like, oh, no. And I'm like, wait, what? What's going on? I'm not crazy. Don't take me. I'm not crazy. And I was like, wait a minute. What are you talking about? And I had to bring another employee to mental health. She wanted to go. And so she was saying, I'm not that person. Wait a minute. It's 2 different situations. But you're experiencing some grief right now. I'm able to recognize that. I'm here. Talk. Tell me what you want. Just talk. And then when she's done, my words was, okay, what can I do? And then someone else comes in the room and just talking. I'm like, oh God, please. And I'm thinking, can you just let me be me? And we're working through this. But she just kept talking. And finally, I just looked at her with piercing eyes and I said, just let her get it out.
Right.
Let her get it out. She has so much to say right now. Let her get it out. So when I tell my husband, hey, you can stay, but you have to be quiet. And then he gets defensive. And I was like, wait a minute. Before I wouldn't say anything. I'd just be like, okay, just deal with it. He's trying to do. I was like, I can't be that person. It's killing me to help you be who you want to be for me. No. I just need you here to be quiet. If you can't be quiet at this moment, it's okay if you leave. But if you're sitting here whistling, knowing how much I can't stand a whistling, it's not healthy. It's not therapeutic for me. I'm actually getting upset while I'm sad.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we work through that. We get through that. And, but he's frightened because I don't see her like this on a regular basis.
It's very unnerving. I mean, I think that's where vulnerability, if we would see it more often, it wouldn't be so strange to us. But because it's because we've been socialized to not do it, it becomes fearful, like something is happening, and everybody goes into fight or flight mode when somebody's crying. It's like, oh Lord, the whole world is falling. It's stop the baby from crying. Like, it's just an instant reaction. And I think that's where we do ourselves a service and not allowing ourselves to be emotional.
Agreed. So let's talk about the Christmas holiday that's coming up, right? So for Thanksgiving, I made the decision to be alone. I felt like that was going to be the best decision for me at the time. I didn't want to ruin the day for anybody else. I didn't think I wanted to be bothered, right? So I made the decision to be alone. I did cook a small meal for my house, and then since it ended up being not a small meal because I learned that I don't know how to cook a small meal. So I sent stuff over to my sister's house, but even though I made that decision, by midday Thanksgiving, I was miserable. I felt so alone. And I didn't like it, right? I didn't like it at all. And then I was like, well, you can't, what do you do now, right? You already told everybody you didn't want to be, there was nowhere to go at that point, right? There was no changing my mind because there was nowhere to go. And so I know that for Christmas, I don't want to do that. So my sister, so I'm hoping she get up and walk down to the driveway because we got to eat on Christmas Eve because we're going to her house Christmas Eve. I'm hoping she took that energy, get up and do it to heart. So Christmas Eve, we're going to go to her house. Christmas Day, I just want to play it by ear, right? Like, I don't want to make a commitment to anything one way or the other. But I have kind of put some things in place that if I want to be bothered, then I'll be able to be engaged with someone. But if I do need that quiet moment, then I can, remove myself. And the same thing with Christmas Eve, it's at my sister's house. So personally, for me, I can leave early if it becomes too much, right? And I could
or you can retreat somewhere.
Or I can retreat somewhere and then step back into the moment when I'm feeling better. Absolutely.
So, and I want you, because now you're thinking about leaving and exiting when you truly can just retreat and come back. Because with the way that you felt for Thanksgiving, I don't know if you really want to be alone.
I don't think I do. Actually, I know I don't, because the holidays is our thing. Like, that's our thing. Like, we retreat. We're a get together family. Like, this is, so the fact that we haven't really done that is problematic within itself, because when we're family, we're a family dinner on Sunday kind of group, right?
And
we have not done it.
I want you to know you can do the same. Retreat. And if y'all need to retreat together, hug and cry together, because I promise, I'm almost certain, I can believe that y'all so afraid of not letting each other down that y'all have not been down together. You're right. So be down together. Be down together. And when y'all come out of it, come back in the room. See, that's a whole nother day, being down together. So, yeah.
This has been absolutely great. Let's see if we have any questions. Donna says, Tawana, I would like to offer you and your sister a free distance metamorphosis treatment. It's a treatment that creates a doorway to address unconscious tension. This happens without effort or thought and is very effective. Well, Donna, I want to hear more.
Is it in person? Where you get
Yeah,
that?
yeah, tell us more about it. Donna, you want to come on mic and tell us more about this? Put in the chat if you're okay with me unmuting your mic.
So are you guys on live as well, or it's just Zoom?
It's just Zoom.
She
Oh,
says
she's okay. So let me unmute her mic. Hello, Miss Donna.
you're muted, Miss Donna. Okay.
Hi.
Hello, sweetheart. First of all, thank you so much for your offer, but tell us more.
Well, metamorphosis, it's similar to reflexology. So it's the same working the nerves and that's in our feet, but I work from distance, just working on your spine, working on your feet, and working on your hand. And it takes you all the way back to preconception.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And what is it called, Miss Donna?
Metamorphosis
Okay.
Where are you located?
in Las Vegas.
Girl, that's a plane ride away. That ain't nothing for us. We get on planes, girl. We get we get on planes. That is wonderful.
I go to
Shanette, I'm
Vegas.
down. You down?
Well, the best part is because it works just as well from a distance as well as physically being there.
Okay.
Interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
Donna, let's
quality.
talk. Let's if you can put your email or send me an email and then we'll coordinate whichever one is better.
Okay. I'll do
I'm trivers@the10kproject.com. And then my
Okay.
sister put hers in there too, but I'll loop us all together.
Okay, great.
But thank
Thank
you,
you.
sweetheart. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for being a member of the 10K Project family also.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Miss Beulah's saying that she couldn't get in earlier. I don't want to take that moment from her. They're grieving in Clarksville due to a tornado that destroyed her husband's church.
In Tennessee.
Oh I'm so sorry. I didn't hear about bad weather in Tennessee.
They had horrible tornadoes this weekend.
Oh my, we actually used to live with my sister. We used to live in Clarksville, Tennessee. Oh my goodness. Miss Beulah, is there anything you're needing?
Is everyone okay?
Yes.
The building looks like it was destroyed, but is everyone all right in your family and in the parishioners?
She's probably typing.
But I went ahead and wrote her name down, and I'll reach out to her as well on social media.
Yeah, and I can give you, we've got Miss Beulah's email address too, so
Okay.
we can give you
I
that.
put my website. I didn't put my grief recovery one, but you can get to it by there. You can follow me on all social medias. If you need to DM me, the grief recovery sessions, or it's an 8-session course, group training or experience. Let's call it an experience. It's an 8-session experience. It could be once a week. It could be multiple times a week. We ask that you give yourself at least 2 hours to go through each session. We're grateful that God saw you guys through. We're grateful for that, Ms. Beulah. So definitely, if I could reach out, I host them by Zoom in the Houston area. We can do it in person as well. I'm also, I'm a consultant. I've been trying to walk away from this W-2, but they're my family. And so every time I say I'm going to leave, they make it really convenient for me to stay and the pleasure of being able to do what I do, being able to help businesses grow, help people get through grief, and alongside of people who respect you and not feel that you're just an employee. No, go soar, but you're still here. We're soaring together. We started this and we're going to all retire together. So that I'm grateful for. And even having to help, my job has become my ministry. So even to help people on the job deal with grief, even to help people on social media just deal, and especially at such a hard time as the holidays. So
Yeah. So Anika put her website there. The books are on her website. Also, so here's what's cool about these books. They're written as children's books. But when I tell you these books were the most helpful, right? I mean, oh my goodness. They hit all the things, right? And so, that this is something also is a good option. And then she talked about the workbook also, and all of that's on the website as well. Anika, thank you so very, very much, my dear. I
appreciate it.
I appreciate you. I do. And I smile and I thank God that you walked in that room when you did. And so, that is really what started me on my journey to grieving, because I was in suppression mode.
Yes.
I was there.
I remember that moment. I won't forget it. It's been a blessing, though. It was truly a blessing. And that room, we can't, it's hard to even talk about because there's no explanation about what transformed in that, right? So
I mean, that's what I tell you, nothing but God. I mean, I don't believe in coincidence. We were at the end of the hall, y'all. Like nobody knew we were really there, but we had that music going and it just was meant to be. And all I could do, and the thing about me is I am in tune when God gives me messages and I ignore them. I'm in tune when they circle back around. And so immediately when she said what her class was, I saw myself pushing that paper to the side the night before. And it was comical because it was like, God was like, no, you're going to do this. I know you're here for one thing. I know. And that's what's, I was there to talk about 10K. I wasn't there to talk about me. I wasn't there to receive anything. I was there to tell the world about the 10K project and what we're doing and getting members. When I tell you that weekend turned into so much more than that, it turned into this personal journey on personal healing from a grieving process, but the connections we made from an entrepreneur standpoint and just being in a space with amazing Black women and just being able to be ourselves was absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. And shout out to Tara Page for having this amazing space. For those of you who are not members of Black Women Who Love Outdoor Spaces, this is the group that hosted the conference, an amazing group that happened during COVID, right? When we were kind of stuck inside and all we had were our outdoor spaces, our backyards, our porches, our balconies, all of those places that we needed to make ours and find some space. And Tara found a need and she created a space that now, over 200 plus thousand, like 240,000 women get to have refuge in, and the conference was amazing. We'll be back next year. And it's just, it's even in that there are no mistakes, right? God puts us in these places and provides us with everything we need. And for those of you who believe in something else, that's okay too, right? I'm an HR person, 30-year HR profession by trade. So I understand diversity and the variances and differences in what we believe in. For me, I know that God brought Anika into that room because I was not, and I was prepared to come home and continue to suppress, right? I had already had my suppression plan in place. So, because I'm a planner. So I already knew what I needed to do to get through this whole thing and all of that. I already had it in place. But that was not what my journey was supposed to be. And so thank you very, very much for your obedience, because you were on your way. You were on your way. You didn't have to stop in there with us, right? So something was in your spirit to come on in the room. And so
I passed the door up like twice. I was like, oh, let me check it out. Yeah.
Look at that. So thank you all so much. This was, this was a topic that I hope was helpful for more than just my, I hope it was more helpful for more than just my sister and I. I didn't mean for it to be a personal therapy session for us, but, it is what it is. But thank you so much to everyone. As we all get through this holiday season, be kind to yourself, right? Make time for yourself, create a space where you can be. That was the biggest lesson I've learned through all of this, is make a space where you just can be.
Yeah.
And I've been doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, ladies. Thank you, Shanette. I appreciate you.
You.
Talisha, I love you.
Love
And
you
we'll
too.
talk in a moment. And Miss
Love you
Anita,
back. Stay safe.
thank you. All right. Miss Donna, we're gonna talk too. So thank you
And see
again.
her email address, so
Offer.
she has it.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, everyone. I love you.
Bye-bye.
Peace and blessings. Mwah.